Someday I don't know how. I hope she'll hear my plea. Some way I don't know how. She'll bring her love to me. Dream lover, until then I'll go to sleep and dream again. That's the only thing to do till all my lover's dreams come true. 'Cause I want a girl to call my own. I want a dream lover so I don't have to dream alone. Dream lover, until then I'll go to sleep and dream again. That's the only thing to do till all my lover's dreams come true. 'Cause I want a girl to call my own. I want a dream lover so I don't have to dream alone. Please don't make me dream alone. I beg you, don't make me dream alone. No, I don't wanna dream alone.
I saw you dancing in a crowded room. You look so happy when I'm not with you. But then you saw me, caught you by surprise. A single teardrop falling from your eye. I don't know why I ran away. I make you cry when I run away. You could have.
I know that was like 3 different genres of music right there, so I'm sure it was a little bit confusing, but welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back. A lot to unpack in the markets right now. Bitcoin hit new all-time highs today, so that's pretty historical. What's up, Ghosts in the YouTube chat? Who's here in the Kick chat? And yeah, Bitcoin pretty much tapped 69.4k at the highs and then sold all the way down about 10k to 59k, where it was around a week ago. But absolute crazy move. I mean, the volume on Bitcoin today was the highest volume, believe it or not, since the cycle bottom at the end of 2022. So since the absolute bottom Bitcoin put in at the end of this cycle over here, you haven't had volume as high as today until today. And it starts to pull back. You can see this is your 2021 all-time high. You pull back a little bit there. I feel like the general consensus looking around on social media, at least, is that this high will crack in time. Usually when Bitcoin tests all-time highs, at least when there's like a decent gap in between them, it tends to break them. At least historically, I believe since like 2014, it's pretty much done so almost every time. I mean, from these 2 highs, you broke above it, even though it was only a slightly higher high. But we take a look at like the 2017 top over here, which is when I was first introduced to crypto and Bitcoin. Once you revisited that in 2020 after the COVID crash, you absolutely skyrocketed past it. So look, we'll see. I was looking at TGR Trade's recent post on Instagram, and he was talking about how, like, if we're going to compare this to a major previous cycle high, right? Look at this previous all-time high. Right now, Bitcoin is like right there, right? Because then we also have this previous high, and Bitcoin is like right here. So what happened after you pretty much broke above that previous cycle high on Bitcoin was all of that. So could that be next? We will have to wait and see. But if you didn't see yesterday, I didn't stream, but I did put out a video kind of randomly, just talking about the top 20 cryptos. If you want to check out that video, it's the last video on my channel. It's just called like top 20 altcoins. Put it out last night. I'm sure a decent amount of them are down today with this pullback, but again, the point of that video was basically to not go FOMO into Bitcoin at all-time highs. So the whole entire point of that video was to look for the type of cryptos that haven't seen runs yet, the type of cryptos that are still at multi-year lows, and which ones have potential based on the charts is pretty much what I went over. And then based on those ones that had potential on the charts, you can go do your own research on the actual projects, because I wouldn't say I'm too lazy to do so, I just don't care enough right now to do so. But in the next couple of weeks, I might add to a couple of those altcoins. We'll keep you updated there. I do have to start caring a little bit more and look into some of these projects before putting thousands of dollars into, what do you even call them? What do you even call cryptos? They're not companies. I don't know. But that's really it for Bitcoin. Ethereum is not even close to all-time highs, but it did see that rejection very similar to Bitcoin today. What's actually really cool about the pullback, at least today on Ethereum, is the fact that I know I have a lot of lines on this chart. I should clear it up. But you can see this ascending broadening wedge. Ethereum broke to the upside, which was beautiful. And literally today, at your low of the day on Ethereum, you can see that bottom wick right there if you look past all the lines on the chart. And you can see this is a really good trend line. You have that touch over here, these 3 touches right there. Today you actually flip that exact supply line into a demand line at your low of the day. So technically it was a back test of a breakout, even though it's a bearish pattern, but it broke it to the upside. So yeah, just a large doji looking candle over here for Ethereum. If we go to the weekly, you can see that, we still have 4 days left, so we can't really talk about the candle, but you're pretty much testing, I know I have some stuff charted up here, but you're testing these highs from March of 2022 on the weekly currently. If you break that, then you see that blue zone up there. That's kind of your final zone. Let me just make these colors the same. But yeah, I mean, in hindsight, how beautiful was this? In hindsight, how beautiful was this bullish Bartley? Literally, it called all-time lows to almost all-time highs. I am slapping myself in the face for not literally just building a huge ETH position here and quadrupling my money in 2 years or a year and a half. But I don't know. I mean, the whole entire chart was a bullish Bartley. I feel like there was something very similar to this, like way back when. It might have been Bitcoin, not Ethereum. I mean, honestly, on Ethereum right now on the weekly. Let's see. I don't know. There used to be, I don't know. I know Mitre would remember it off the tip of his tongue, but I cannot for whatever reason. Maybe it's this, I don't know. I really do want to find it. There was some like previous major harmonic that played out. It's kind of a mix of 2 harmonics. We'll figure it out later, but yeah, crypto. Let's keep going a little bit more. See some of these names that I already have on my watch list. OXT, I used to actually trade OXT a lot. It's just like a VPN crypto. For those of you waiting for the stocks, we'll get into it in a second. But yeah, this name, it's been fighting this 14-cent area for quite some time now. If it can really break it, like it broke it for 1 day and then it came all the way back down to like 11 cents. Now it's back up to 13. If it can really break 14 cents, this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to FOMO into names. I'm not telling you that this is better than Bitcoin. In no means is this random altcoin better than Bitcoin. I'm just saying, like, look, the major cycle tops here are like 77 cents. And the major lows are around 20 cents. And it's just kind of had this consolidation zone. That's the wrong button. It's just kind of had this consolidation zone right over here. So if it can just fight a little bit more to get back up within that range, I mean, who's to say that a move back all the way up there is not possible? DOT, we looked at this one last night. $10 is basically the key level to break. It looks like kind of like a large scuffed cup and handle. Same thing, like you were testing breakouts on a lot of these altcoins, and then with the Bitcoin pullback today, you kind of came back under them. So like what I might do at this point is just like set up alerts. Like I'm going to set up an alert at the breakout there on DOT. Probably do the same thing on OXT at 15 cents. FIL, the breakout level, honestly, we can do a better job of charting that. It's more like $11. So I'm just going to start setting up alerts on some of these altcoins, and you know, if they break out, great. If they don't, then the alerts will never fire, and I just won't get in them. Tezos is around like 150-ish. So, I mean, look, there's a decent amount of these. I'm running through them right now for all of you. We will see what happens. It was actually quite the nice move today. Wow, look at that. I actually looked at this on the video I released last night on stream, and I was talking about how this broke out of an ascending triangle and then even back tested it, flipped the top of the previous pattern into a support. And then despite the pullback on Bitcoin today, this actually went up 13%. So that's pretty cool to see. But that's it for crypto for tonight. Let's talk about other markets briefly before we head into stocks. Who's here in the kick chat says, regardless of what happens with Bitcoin, perhaps it will be one of the biggest traps in recent times. We shall see. And yeah, looks like the US 2-year Treasury rejected the 200-day moving average. The 10-year is actually breaking under the 200-day moving average, which is quite interesting because we saw a pretty bad day for equities today and pretty much been seeing the same thing in treasuries. The dollar currency index looks like it's just waiting to break down from that 200-day. Silver spiked back above the 200-day moving average. It's still in this huge, this is one of the biggest triangles I can even think of on any chart right now. Keep an eye on this, like, because what I'm about to show you on gold is currently happening. Silver could be next, and like, I'm sure there's some decent silver ETFs out there, but gold is amazing right now. Apparently, we've been talking about this triangle on the stream. I know every single night when I bring up this gold triangle on the stream, half of you are like, "Oh, can you please just go over to stocks? We don't care about gold. It's not the 80s." But we've been talking about this triangle, and look, like, yeah, you can wait 3 months and watch something go sideways, and then in 3 days, this went up 4%, which is a huge move for gold to go up 4% in 4 days. And then if we take a look at the GLD, SPDR Gold Trust, it's like a gold ETF pretty much. I don't know if it's exactly an ETF, but major inverse head and shoulders breakout. Like this type of move, I know it doesn't look like something crazy, but with like options, this could be hundreds and hundreds of percents of profit. So pretty crazy move there for gold. The Hanks, I don't know if you guys can hear the dog barking right now, but the Hanks index is currently open. It's up about 0.25%. And this one's interesting. You know, it had these two major lows here right around 15K. If we go over, of course, to the monthly, those two lows are pretty much on this 26-year-old trend line that China has just continued to bounce off of. But it's like you have mixed variables now, because you see I had the 16.9K level charted. It was previous lows. It flipped into resistance. Like, you could even argue the bear flag here, which I just drew out for you. And then the MACD just went over to red today, hidden bearish divergence. A lot of mixed variables. I'm a little bit more 50-50 on Chinese names right now, so we'll see what happens there. Let's take a quick look into some other sectors of the market before the main indices. Energy breaking out of the wedge and the 200-day moving average, definitely a sector to keep an eye on. Financials, oh my gosh, I don't know if AK is in the stream right now, but I'm not, like, which day was like a Friday here? I am pretty sure on this, like literally right over here, we did a weekly call in premium on a Sunday, and AK was like, hey, take a look at this pattern. It might break out on the financial sector, and also trying to break the 200-day moving average. And quite literally since then, all this has done is gone straight up, which is pretty sick. And you are now getting very close to retesting all-time highs. So financial is doing pretty well. Let's take a look at some other of these XLs. Industrials, I mean, don't even get me started. What a crazy move on industrials here. It was really a break over 108. Just a beautiful move there. But again, like if we really zoom into a lot of these charts, right? This is like that first like line in the sand type of candle that you're seeing. I mean, you kind of had this one, but I believe this might have been like an, I don't know if this was an FOMC, but that might have been news on this gap up for a 1.6% green day there. So yeah, let's talk about the overall market now. Let's start off with the good old SPY, which if you didn't see my post on X today, yeah, I mean, this is a little bit scary looking. The thing is, we've seen this not once but twice before, okay? You're testing the breakdown of this wedge. It looks like there's no more room for it to keep wedging up until we watch this thing go like this, like literally, I don't know. But we've seen this twice before. We saw it over here, we saw it over here, and we've tested these breakdowns twice in the past month or so. Both times, the second we even got down to testing that breakdown, immediately the next day we gapped up. Now, futures are not really green right now, so we will see whether or not that happens. But the last two times that the bulls were hanging on by a thread, they immediately stepped up, and that was all she wrote. And we just kind of continued trending up. Like, look at that rally over here. Look at this rally over here. A lot of things had to do with those, like CPI, FOMC, and most importantly, apparently, the number one indicator of the market right now, which is chip stocks. And I don't know, will chip stocks be able to save the market here? Apple's not doing well at all. I mean, a lot of the big names, Tesla's really not doing well. I haven't looked at Microsoft, Google. I know Amazon has been selling off just a little bit off the highs. So a lot of these large names are starting to pull back. And how much more can these chip stocks save the market? They've done it for the past month at least. So you are testing this wedge pretty much, and we'll see if this breaks down. I think 496 is a decent level, but like even to move down to 480 is possible to retest previous all-time highs. We take a look at the fibs here. That puts you right around a 382 retrace. So keeping an eye on this wedge, but again, like I'm waiting for more confirmation on this. I believe on not my SPY chart, but my SPX chart, you can see that wedge a little bit cleaner here. A key level I'm keeping an eye on today, which you actually got a very solid bounce off of in the last half an hour of the day, for technically a tweezer bottom candle, is this zone right over here. You can see it was able to bounce right off of it. So as you can see, I have an alert set up here on the SPX, and literally just right under today's low. So if we break that, that would be more of a confirmed breakdown. And that's why I'm not gonna lie, like I was debating getting into puts today and swinging them, but the only reason I didn't is just in case we bounce off that support. I even sent this in premium chat at 45 minutes before the close, key test here on SPX, like literally right, like you can see this is the bottom of this red candle touching the top of this zone, and then look exactly where it bounced, like literally right there. It reacted right off of that level. So if that level breaks, I might go and short the market, but until then we will see. If it does break that zone, you got a gap fill. Let's see, another 1.3% lower. So that's the SPX. Under that zone, I think there could be a lot of room for a short. And on top of that, I mean, if you're breaking the zone, you're also pretty much going to be actually breaking down from this rising wedge on the daily time frame. So there's pretty much the combination of the two there. You've got some pretty mean looking quadruple classic bearish divergence on the RSI on the daily. Nothing on the weekly though, just daily bearish divergence for now. On the weekly, if we close the week red, you could get like a tweezer top or bearish engulfing candles set up. So that is the S&P 500. Not great looking, but remember the last two times we were facing death pretty much. I'm heavily exaggerating here. It's still very close to all-time highs. We could even sell off, go down over here, and then run back up. But you were facing like this major breakdown. You actually gapped up the next day. So tomorrow, if we don't gap up, if we don't see bulls step up right away in the morning, that could be more of a signal that the third time is a charm for the bears. So we will see. The Qs look very similar. They do technically have classic bearish divergence on both the MACD and RSI. Highest volume since February 13th today. Same thing here. I mean, I charted this trend line based off of this low and these two lows. You could also just extend it over like that to include this one, and you're technically not broken down yet. But you do have a gap fill around 426 on the Qs. I think in time that will fill. If we get on to lower time frames here, these are my levels. That's not really, actually we're going to keep that level. But yeah, these are the key levels I'm watching here on the Qs. I would say, I mean, look, I was saying the same thing last week, bearish under 440. We ended up getting above it to go like 6 points higher, and now we're right back under it. So I'm just going to go back to the same thing, bearish under 440 on the Qs. Keep it nice and simple. You rejected that area 3 times. You got above it, but then you gapped back below it. I mean, this is not like any coincidence, right? The pre-market price action literally gives it to you. Why did we open literally right here and flush right there? That's because of this level. So they brought it to test that level right for the open. And then right when the volume came in at the open, there were more sellers than buyers. That's classic imbalanced stuff. And the people in the pre-market that were up early with copies in their system were setting that up for the open, whether they wanted to or not. So that's really what you're seeing on the Qs here. We take a look at the Russell 2000. I mean, I literally put out the post yesterday on X, and every time, you know, if you know the Godfather line, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. that is quite literally the Russell 2000. Every time you think it's breaking out, like I used to actually have this line charted as the top of the range, and you think it's out and then they pull it back in. So then I extended the line up to over here, and then you think it's out yesterday and now it's back in. It's tough to tell. So the Russell 2000 is still testing this breakout, I guess. Give me 1 second. My dog has been barking for like 6 minutes straight. I want to make sure everything's good. Alright, I don't know if that's picking up on the mic or not, but we're back. That's pretty much it for the overall market. Let's take a look into some of these large cap names now. Let's start off with some of the chips. AMD, I mean, we talked about this on the stream right when it happened. You had that range. It was very similar to the range that NVIDIA had. Like literally, this is where the screen arrow is. That large range breakout for AMD, and that's really what we saw last week. And look, you went up. Even today, you gapped down. During the day, at least, you went up. During market hours, you went up. Couldn't even get it down to 192 to fill that gap. So who knows what can happen here. When NVIDIA broke its range, and to be fair, NVIDIA's range was much larger than AMD, it just literally just kept going like this for like a while, and it kind of still is. So we will see how much this lasts. I'm going to continue to say that AMD looks bullish above 185. If we take a look at NVIDIA, it's what TA can you do here? Like, there's just not much to talk about. Like, I guess I can put a new level right there because of that gap fill and that other high from February 23rd. But those are really the only levels. SMCI ended up closing green. It was actually down 5 or 6% at one point today, and I did a quick scalp on this right after the open. Actually, these two candles right over here made like $300 in a few minutes. I saw that it gapped down. It was showing some weakness. There was a rounding top price action heading into today. Basically yesterday, the whole entire price action was a rounding top, and then on top of that, you got a gap down. So the second I saw a bounce, I had a decent idea that it would kind of fade, and then the Qs were also looking bearish at the time. So I got into an SMCI put. It was like $2,300 or something. Sold it for like $2,600 a few minutes later. And that was it. I mean, honestly, if I held it till here, I probably would have made like $1,000 at least. But then it ended up, thankfully I didn't hold it too long, because then it ended up actually going way back up, filling this gap and exceeding it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But again, there's just not like, you know, I saw some intraday scalping technicals, but on like higher time frames, like what are you supposed to do here? I guess the one thing I kind of did miss on this was that there was, and I'm sure a lot of people caught this, especially heading into the week, there was like a pretty decent triangle setting up into this breakout. So I guess that's playing out now. So those are your major chips. I'm gonna probably rush the stream a little bit now, but those are your major chips. 1 second. I'm trying everything I can, so you're going to probably keep hearing barking. But that is SMCI. Let's talk about some other large caps now. Let's get started with Apple, which had a rough day today. I mean, this was really the breakdown here at 180. You can see it was testing it multiple times throughout the year. It finally gave it up on the 1st of this month, gave up the 200-day moving average as well, and it's seen a couple of rough days since then. I mean, if we zoom out here, the larger picture is a much bigger double top, and then you're kind of testing the middle of it. I think the Lump mentioned this in the Discord as well. But on the 4 hour, I actually did catch this. You're at the PCZ of a bullish bat on Apple on the 4 hour time frame. So we will see whether or not that does anything tomorrow. But I think the key level here is around like 167-ish to hold. Next up, let's do Tesla, which is a swing. It's now pretty much back to even after it. Like, it went up. I alerted it right here. It went right up to the first target. The first target was right there because of this gap fill, and it just immediately fell back down to where it was at. So look, this is a key level to bounce off of. You see that 180 support level, and it's still in the down sloping channel, but I mean, you know, I'm sure there was the bear flag argument, and that quite literally has already been playing out, but you do also have hidden bearish diversions, so keep an eye on that. Continuing on with some large caps, Microsoft down 3% today. This looks pretty bearish here. Kind of a mini double top here, large red candle today, back down to the demand line. This is a breakdown candidate, so if the market starts selling off, I mean, I could see this dropping at least first to like 383. You're like a very, you see I have this range chart, so you have a very mini support here, like 397 from these two lows. But if that breaks this high from the end of November, 383 could be next. Google has been selling off. It's now testing the 200-day moving average after breaking down from this ascending broadening wedge. Amazon down 2% today. This little falling wedge we charted played out, but then what it ended up doing was creating right away a rising wedge with classic bearish divergence. And classic bearish divergence, rising wedge, rejecting resistance. I mean, it's kind of a bearish setup here on Amazon. I saw some report that Jeff Bezos was now richer than Elon Musk as of yesterday. I don't know if that already flipped or not. It's probably going to keep going back and forth. I thought the richest person in the world was the LVMH owner, but I don't know. That's the report that came out. But see what else. Netflix. I mean, look, a lot of these names are starting to look bearish. That is something to note. Pretty much classic bearish divergence here, definitely on the RSI. Rising wedge testing a breakdown. We could be seeing a local top for a lot of these names. This is actually pretty interesting. You might have a bearish Gartley here on Netflix. A little bit deep on the D point, but kind of a bearish Gartley here for Netflix on top of everything else I just mentioned. So we'll see. I mean, even some of the mid-cap growth names I have are not doing well. DraftKings, major classic bearish divergence, double top at 44. I mean, if this breaks that down from that trend line, could see some selling here. What else do I have? Mar and Rye got crushed today. I alerted some Rye calls in the morning. They went up like 40%, and then they just got crushed. Like, right away they went up 40%, then they got crushed. I mean, it's still a name I'm keeping an eye on. You can see I still have the alert set up here. I have one alert at 11:36, which is this gap fill, pretty much. Then I have an alert pretty much right above today's high, but it's in a wedge. It's got 1 hour classic bullish divergence. It just really is up to Bitcoin if it wants to do something. Mara's gotten kind of crushed as well. I mean, they kind of had these inverse head and shoulder sub going into today, and then Bitcoin just kind of turned around right when it decided to hit all-time highs. So that's really it for the stream tonight. Just kind of a quick return stream, and I mean, it was half an hour. Thank you all for watching the stream. Yeah, I do see the Fisker mention in the chat. It was down a little bit today. I mean, I'm now 7% seems like a little bit. I know it's still technically a lot. It's kind of just been hanging out around 40 cents since those earnings. On Friday morning, actually, I saw it drop down, and I had a flight on Friday to go to California. I spent the weekend with a bunch of amazing traders. Shout out to Aries, shout out to Retta, shout out to Jordan, everybody that was there. And actually, on my way to California this weekend, so I went there on Friday morning. I was buying up just for a swing. I already have my long-term Fisker position, which is pretty much like the same thing that I was adding, like, honestly, in like this whole entire area right over here. But just like everybody thinks, no, I was not adding all the way over here. It literally was making that long-term position like right over here. But then for like a shorter term trade on Friday morning, I got into Fisker at 41 cents, and then I'm on the flight, and the flight is Wi-Fi, but I really wasn't looking at my phone. trying to take a nap, watch movies and stuff. And then I'm like, all right, let me look at my phone. A couple hours into the flight, I'm like, what just happened? And like, I literally got it at 41 cents. It was already at like 54 cents. That's like 30%. And I was like 30% on equity. So it was like larger than my normal options positions even. And the Hyundai rumor thing came out. So I took profits on that. Like, that was intended to be a short-term trade just because I thought it was an overreaction, at least in the short term. And then we'll see whether or not it is. But still keeping the long term the same. I actually added a little bit more today. We'll see. I have Fisker. I basically consolidated everything into one account and then I split them up again. I'm just all over the place right now. But the main long-term position I have not touched. And I think that averages in the 60-ish cent area. But I also have accounts that are averaged at like 40 cents right now from my ads today. So we'll see how this all plays out. Again, everything I'm talking about is fully riskable. It's been pretty tough, obviously, but great trade on SMCI today. Riot, I could have taken more profits. I didn't take enough before it sold off. Tomorrow we'll see what that brings. I'm going to keep looking into those altcoins, maybe add to a couple. We'll see. Keeping an eye on Bitcoin. Thank you all for watching the stream and have a great night, everybody.